Mirrors the evolution of humanity. A shelter is a place that gives us protection from bad weather or danger. With the development in technology and mankind, we can see how human beings have improved their way of living. Now let us begin the journey. In the Stone Age period, before man knew how to build shelters, they made use of natural environment to provide them with shelter. Cave was one such shelter that gave them protection from bad weather but offered them less protection against wild animals. Then came the phase of these tents. These tents were made using animal skin. The animal skin not only kept humans warm in cold weather but also offered them protection from wild animals. With the evolution of mankind, humans became more intelligent, and then came the phase where kacha houses were built. The walls and roofs of these houses were made using bamboo, mud, dry grass, etc. The walls and roofs of these houses are strong enough to provide them protection from wild animals. With majority of population migrating to cities for work, we can see many pakka houses. These multi-story buildings are made using bricks, steel, cement, etc. These buildings are strong enough to bear harsh weathers. Most of these high-rise buildings have their own parking lot, gardens, swimming pools, etc. I would like to conclude my presentation by saying that people build shelters, however, for reasons other than mere protection or survival. Homes may be a symbol of wealth and prestige to their owners, and to many persons, homes are heavens of comfort, emotional security.
Is precious. People in ancient time used pole star to measure time. Many centuries later, the Romans and Greeks made sundial to measure time. The clock was invented in Europe with the beginning of 14th century. In 1665, a Dutch scientist named Christian Huygens invented clock and made it more accurate for time measurement. There are three types of clock. They are analog clock, mechanical clock, and atomic.
Evolved. In ancient era, cave painting and stone carving were the oldest modes of communication. Drums and smoke signals were used for long-distance communication. Also, secret messages were sent via pigeons during World War. Now let us look at the Middle Era. This period saw some innovation which we still use. For example, newspaper, telephone and radio. Now this is the modern era. Here we saw a breakthrough of internet and social media sites such as Facebook, Twitter, etc. Texting is now the most popular method of communication. Apps such as WhatsApp. Thanks to internet, we could continue our learning during this pandemic too. Virtual reality and augmented reality have already entered in our lives. Google Lens and Apple Glasses may replace the need of smartphones. Can you imagine life without smartphones? Difficult, isn't it? future is surely exciting. Here I have made models of old generation computer and new generation computers. Now I will tell you in brief about new generation computer and old generation computers. Earlier computers used vacuum tubes and transistors and were heavy and big. But now devices like laptops are light and use microprocessors. They are very fast in giving results. So now I will describe my model. This is an computer and this is an monitor. Like you can see that this is so big. This is a keyboard. This is a CPU that is also called the brain of a computer. Here you can see this is a laptop and it is very light. It can be taken in. Clay cooker is the oldest human invention. It brings traditional in kitchen. Since their invention about 12,000 years ago, clay pots are used for good cooking and good eating for culture. Copper is known as the best cooking metal for rice. It can improve your digestive system. You will be surprised to know that the copper can detoxify your body. Brass is the alloy of copper and zinc. It is near as 3,500 BC in Mesopotamia. You must have seen utensils of brass in your grandma's kitchen. Aluminium cookware began to be produced in late 19th century. Aluminium foils are popularized in today's present time. Some effects eating food in aluminium utensils are hyperacidity and skin problem and other more. Today's many people prefer steel and non-stick because it is easy to clean and no maintenance. It presents stainless tableware like dishes and bowls. There is a place giving protection from bad weather and danger. The evolution of shelters begins from man staying in jungles and forests. Then they gradually moved to caves. The great change we could see when they moved to huts, because this stage they started using different materials. Finally, we moved to stage from small rows, houses and tall buildings and skyscrapers. Sit down at your dinner table. Do you ever wonder about the fork, knife, spoon, etc.? The history of eating utensils goes way back to the first human beings when they started eating with the finger. When wood, fire, stoves and used to eat only roasted food, but over the time their eating methods were refined. They started to use the spoon
utensils to make food. Here I am going to tell you some cookwares which are used in earlier times, and they are replacements used now through my
Any type and size of a pan, a pot or dish used for cooking is called cookware. Evolution of cookware has been ongoing process after 19th century. The pottery is the earliest method of developing cookware. The earliest pottery was developed in China. This is the one example of pottery cookware. This cookware is made from clay. Humans also experience lots of setbacks of pottery cookware. So they invented metal cookware. Cast iron is said to be as old as pottery. I would like to show you cast iron dosa pan which we use in our house. Aluminium cookware is widely used among households who couldn't afford copper or stainless steel cookware. This is one of the aluminium cookware. Stainless steel cookware considered elite in the Indian society for its beauty and shining nature. I would like to show you stainless steel cookware. This is stainless steel cookware. However, in modern days, non-stick cookware are the hot favorite among households in 21st century. Because of lifestyle, modern days working women chose cookware that helps in easy cooking, which saves a lot of time. This is the non-stick cookware.
Do you know that humans were apes earlier, and then they evolved and become humans? Firstly, their work was to hunt and to gather food for them. Tools they used stones of their tools and wood for their handle. They used to sharp the stone for killing the animals. What was their work? Nowadays, we are having many tasks to do. We are always busy, but early humans were not too busy. They just hunt and gather food. But it was not for always. They started farming and herding animals in Middle Stone Age. How do they evolve? Like this, early humans discovered many things and evolved and became humans. Some of their discoveries included discovery of fire, invention of wheel, and many more. Conclusion. Because of them, we know all these things now also. Some part of their body is in our body. As we know, early humans were having a tail, and this tail was attached with the backbone. And this backbone present in our body as well. It is connected with end of our backbone.
Clothes are items worn on body to cover it up. Clothing is made up of fabrics and textiles, but over time in ancient periods, people use leaves to cover them up. Gradually, people then used animal skin to make clothes. People tied leaves or animal skin around their body. Their clothing serve many purposes like protection from climate, insect bites and thorns by providing a barrier between the skin and the environment. The amount and the type of clothing depends on gender, body type, social, cultural and geographic conditions. The uses of clothing and development varied with the development of civilization and technology. India's history of clothing goes back to Indus Valley civilization, where clothes were spun, woven and dyed. People wrapped a piece of cloth around their waist. The pattern of clothing changed from time to time. In Vedic period came Paridhan and Uttariya for men and sari and choli for women. Later, ghagra, dupatta came into existence with different types of fabrics called silk, wool, cotton, muslin, with weaving and stitching. In Mauryan period, this was the clothing. In Gupta period, people wore dresses like this. In Mughal period, people wore heavy dresses like this. In Rajput period, this was the clothing. Beginning of fashion in 1945. Pants, salwar kameez in 80s and 90s. Now people wear dresses like this. Today's pandemic situation, COVID-19 has also brought a new fashion. Mask, gloves, face shield and
I'm going to speak about how was the transport in earlier times and how is the transport in modern times. In earlier times, people started moving around in search of livelihood from one place to another, either on foot or on animals. However, it was hard for them to travel on foot or on animals over long distances. It took them hours, days, weeks and even months to reach a place. So they invented wheels and fitted them to carts to make their traveling easier. Animals were also deployed to carry these carts from one place to another. Now we see different types of transports like water transport, air transport and land transport. Land transport is the most important means of transport. Land transport includes cars, buses, trains, bicycles, etc. Land transport is the movement of people and goods from one place to another. The land transportation system is the most used transport in our daily life. We are constantly developing our land transport for a better service. It is the cheapest mode of transportation. Now we have much faster transports because of advancement in mechanical.
Milestone of mountain. Biggest and longest mountain range are the Himalayas and Karakoram. Most of Himalayas peaks, more than 8,000 meters, are in this range only. Mount Everest was climbed by Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay in 1953. Important mountain equipments: ice axe, satellite phone, rope, alpine shoes, carbons. How equipments evolved. Earlier there was suit made of wool, and now it's made of thermal suits. Earlier there was leather shoes, and now there is insulated shoes. Ropes and sleeping bags. Earlier there were jute ropes, and now there are nylon ropes. Oxygen and all-weather tents. Earlier there was very heavy bags, and now it's very lighter, and now the tents are waterproof. Telecom communications and locations devices. There is now is GPS watch and satellite phone are used now.
History of money. What is money? By the definition is something of value, but over the last 10,000 years has changed considerably from cattle and cowrie shells to today's electronic currency. Here get an overview of history of money. In 9000 to 6000 BC, cattle are the first and oldest form of money. In 12,000 BC, the first use of cowries, the shells that was widely available in the shallow waters of the Pacific and Indian Oceans, was in China. The cowrie is the most widely and longest used currency in history. In 1000 BC, the first metal money and coins were manufactured by China. At the end of the Stone Age, Chinese coins often containing holes as they could be put together like a chain. In 806, the first known paper banknotes appeared in China. Today currency continues to change and develop as evidenced by the new $100 US Ben Franklin bill. In the digital age, economic transactions regularly take place electronically without the exchange of any physical currency. Digital cash will mostly continue.
The aeroplane is an amazing invention. It was built by the Wright brothers in 1903. It looked like this. It was very small and only 2 people could sit in it. The aeroplane was called the Wright Flyer and it could fly only till 120 feet. These aeroplanes were very small. But after this, new technologies continued to develop and these type of larger aircrafts were built. These look like this. These aircrafts can carry 300 to 1,000 people in one time. These airplanes catch speed in the air through their wings and carry many people from one place to another. Traveling became very easy and very simple when these aeroplanes.
Copper was first used by man over 10,000 years ago. Copper discovered in northern Iraq. Iraq has been dated about 8,700 BC. Bronze near 3,500 BC in Mesopotamia. There was created the bronze. In ancient time, people were store water in a bronze vessel. It is intestine strength, immunity, and hemoglobin. Also, stainless steel. It was more than 100 years ago. 100 years ago, the Japanese company Nofon was the first largest company to produce stainless steel. Today, China is the largest producer of stainless steel in the world. Copper, crockery. It can be said that China was the country of crockery, starting with the environment of pottery during the around 8,000.
Is silbatta. The sil refers to a flat stone and batta refers to a cylindrical grinding stone. It was used in India to make paste of coriander leaves and many more. This is black stone, mortar and pestle. Here is stone bowl with cylindrical grinding stone to grind wet and dry spices like dry coriander, turmeric, red chili, etc. A fine powder is made of all spices. This is marble, mortar and pestle. It is an implement used since ancient time to prepare ingredients by crushing spices like cardamom, clove, etc. This is millstone. It is an hand-operated millstone. Here are two grinding stones of equal diameters placed on each other to grind the grains like wheat, sorghum and millets. In olden days, there were any rarely local atta chakki in the villages for grinding the grains. So people were supposed to use this atta chakki. This is metal mortar and pestle. In this we can make paste of garlic, ginger, green chili, etc. We also call this Imam Jasta. At last, here we have mixer grinder. This is modern mixer grinder. It was invented by American Rufus Eastman in 1885. With the help of this electric mixer grinding machine, we can grind anything like almond, turmeric, chutney paste, everything very quickly. We can also make fruit juice in this type of mixer jar, which was done before manually by all the stones.
Aeroplane is a flying object. Aeroplane is a flying object. It is like a bus on a vehicle that flies in the sky. So, the aeroplane was discovered by two Wright brothers. Most of the aeroplanes are today made by Wright brothers, Alberto Santos decided to make this majestic beast. Now we will be talking about my first plane, which is this Boeing 747. It is a large, wide-body airliner and a cargo plane which was manufactured by Boeing Commercial Airlines. Now my second plane is this one. It is called A321 Neo. The industry leading to this plane in this family version enhanced with the new engine option. This is the jetliner version of the A320. Now my last plane is the old model biplane one, which was the first fighter plane in the whole world. It was made by Wickler man name. It was an experimental fighter. It was an experimental fighter plane that was shown in London. So friends, this is some history of these airplanes. We have some more history to learn about the planes. So, new inventions day by day are going on with these.
The revolutionary invention of wheels gave rise to technologies from transportation to modern machinery, and the invention has changed the whole system of working. Let's have a look on the types of wheels discovered and invented from Stone Era to modern era. This is a stone wheel. Stone wheel first appeared in ancient Mesopotamia more than 5,500 years ago. These first wheels were used for throwing pottery and agricultural uses such as grinding. These wheels were not used for transportation. After that, the solid wooden wheels were invented. It is believed that the first wooden wheel was invented after first human being used cylindrical tree trunks to move heavy things. Observing this, someone very intelligent thought of making a wooden circle with an axis, like current wheelbarrows. It would be easier, and from then on, the potter wheels were appeared. In this type of wheel, the axle is directly fitted in the center of the wheel to maximize potential motion. Further, few developments took place and the spoked wheels were invented and allowed the construction of lighter and swifter vehicles. Egyptians were the first to use the spoked wheels in 2000 BC, allowing for much faster speed. Evolution of spoked wheels made early forms of transportation much faster than before. However, the wheels remained largely unimproved until 19th century when Robert William Thomson invented a pneumatic tire, a rubber wheel using compressed air, which paved way for automobiles and bicycle tires. The invention of air-filled rubber tires allowed wheels to be much faster, sturdier, ultimately redefining transportation. While the basic function of the wheel is unchanged, modern wheels are much different from the simple wooden wheel of the past. Innovation in material science have made possible all kinds of tires for bicycles, cars, motorcycles and trucks, including tires designed for rough terrain and ice.
The first wheel was invented in Mesopotamia around 3500 BC. In earlier days, people used to travel on foot from one place to another and carry load on their back. Then they started started using animals for transportation. After a few years, they realized that the tree trunk could rotate from the heel, and they attached logs of wood to the load. This was the first step in invention of the wheel. Earlier wheel was a wooden disc with a hole in between for the axle. The first wheel was not used for the transportation. An early wheel was made of a solid piece of a wood with a hole or an axle in between. The wheel was made recently and allowed the construction of lighter and swifter vehicles. James Starley is the inventor of spoked wheel designed in 1874. Spoke is like a rod radiating from the center of a wheel. Spoke wheels was used in horse-drawn carriages.
There are many inventions throughout history that has changed the world. One such invention is the aeroplanes. With the invention of aeroplanes, travel has become easier, faster and convenient. The Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur, invented and flew the first aeroplane in 1903. They named it hang glider. Before making it, Wright brothers observed the bird's technique of flying and applying it into their experiment. They did many experiments and finally on 17 December 1903 they succeeded in flying the first aeroplane. Within a few decades, aircrafts were used in wars, traveling and transporting. With the development of technology, different types of gliders, aeroplanes and helicopters of different shapes and sizes are made. Helicopter has a huge body with large wings and a tail. Drones have become very popular nowadays. Scientists are also working on flying cars, which we can see in near.
On evolution of means of communication. Sending or receiving information or messages is called communication. Now, why do we communicate? We communicate to keep in touch with our families and friends. With the help of communication, we can exchange our ideas, knowledge, etc. with others. Now, the next question is, how do we communicate? We communicate by writing, by orals, or by body language. Now, let me take you to the journey of communication. Smoke signal. In olden days, people used smoke signal to communicate about situation of danger. Trained pigeons. Trained pigeons were used to send messages and letters for far away places. Letters. Then came the era of communicating with the help of letters. Telephone. Telephone was invented in 1876 by Mr. Graham Bell. With the help of internet, we started communicating via emails. Smartphones. Smartphone made communication easy and fast. Now, Zoom. In these days, we are communicating with the help of Zoom app. We also communicate with the help of Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. we can also communicate with the masses. This is not the end of the journey of the communication. Future will bring more system of
Only cultures and are the oldest form of human social interaction. There are two types of games, indoor games and outdoor games. Most of ancient indoor games are Ashtapada and Pachisi, which are today known as chess and ludo. Then came era of video games. Earlier kids play video games on TV, and this is the remote of the video game. Now kids play on PSP, iPad and Xbox. Coming to outdoor games, earlier kids played Lagori, marbles, Kho-Kho and hide and seek. Now kids play badminton, tennis.
Transportation is the fastest means of transport in today's generation. But do you know who invented the aeroplane? I'm going to tell you, and the Wright brothers invented it. And that's only my topic, the history of aeroplane. As you know, as I'm showing you my modern airport, today we have hyper technology like super jets, aeroplane, passenger aeroplane, single plane. We also have weapons plane. The first passenger plane was invented in 1914. And the first plane was invented in 1903 by the Wright brothers. The first test would happen on Kitty Hills, and the second test happens on Kildevel Hills in North America. And the Wright brothers faced a little difficulty by making their plane. The first difficulty was handling the engine, because it took very much fuel. So the Wright brothers made the wings small also, and the wing and the motor. They also had a difficulty by their wings. And the wings could not cut the air. So they put some wood in the between to make the wings cut the air. And that's how our first aeroplane was invented. Now you have a question in your mind, who encouraged the Wright brothers to make the first aeroplane? Yeah, I'm going to tell you that. The Wright brothers' father gave them a toy helicopter which really flew. From that they thought, why don't we make an aeroplane? And now it took 10 hours to travel from one to another
and now with our high-tech super technology, we can travel anywhere in just 2 hours at the same distance. The first flight took off in India by Allahabad, crossing the Yamuna River, landing at Delhi. It almost covered 9.7 kilometers. Now you are thinking in the mind that who invented the first aeroplane? It was Shankar Bapuji Telvar who invented the first aeroplane, and now we have upgraded that plane into like
Indian subcontinent, the Stone Age period. During the Stone Age period, humans used to cover themselves with whatever available material, like leaves and animal skin. The first fabric uses occurred 100,000 years ago. The Indus Valley Civilization period. Indians are mainly worn clothes made out of locally grown cotton. Humans used to wrap themselves with clothes. Both men and women were fond of jewelry. The pre-Mauryan period. During this period, humans used to wrap themselves with dhoti till the waist. The Mauryan period. During this period, the evidence of stitched female clothing was found. Females were dressed as embroidery round the top with dhoti along with drapes, where men main focus was on turban. The Gupta period. During this period, stitched garments became very popular. During this period, men used to have long hair and used to put a headgear, a band of fabric around their hair, where females used to wear kurta with side slits. The early modern period. During this period, Rajput's men main attire was sherwani as an upper garment, chudidar pajama as lower garments, kamaband as belt along with pagdi, where women main attire was the sari or lehenga. The colonial period. During this period, India started to reflect European influences. Western style came into effect in India. Even Maharajas are using British style dresses as a uniform. The modern period. In this period, Western style clothing has gained increasingly popularity. This has led to the development of Indo-Western style. Bollywood has also been a major influence in fashion. Clothing has gone over tremendous changes, development, but has not given up. In
1876, Alexander Graham Bell invented the first phone, which was a liquid transmitter phone. It was very similar to this. I have made this using a paper, some magnets and cardboards. After that, many more scientists invented many phones using improved features. In 1983, 1G phones were launched by Motorola. This were very similar to this. I have made this using a paper and some cardboards. There are many features in this. Keyboards to type numbers, and a speaker to listen and hear, and an antenna to connect a better network. After that, landline, 2G and 3G and 4G and 5G phones were launched.
Our cookware changed and evolved from stone and clay to copper and iron to stainless steel and glass. So come and join with me in the journey of cookware. So how has our cookware changed throughout history? Let's start at the beginning when humans needed to discover a stove with clay and stone which needed wood and dry leaves for fuel. This is another generation stove which needed coal for fire. This was another stove in which kerosene was used. Nowadays we use the stainless steel stove which runs on LPG and induction stove which required electricity. This hand-stone grinder was used to grind spices, and this is an electric grinder. These are the evolution of cookware from our history to nowadays. These are stone plates, earthenware were which zero chemical, easy to use and clean. This is bronze plate. This is copper vessel. Copper improves health, immunity and aids digestion, but it is reactive with acidic food and can result in corrosion. This is aluminium vessel. Iron cookware is known to increase hemoglobin. This is steel plate. Stainless steel resistance to corrosion, non-reactive with acidic food, resistance to scratching and denting. This steel or aluminium pan can be coated in minimize food sticking. These are ceramic and glassware which are expensive and attractive, which are available in all size, shape and designs. This is traditional manual stone mill which were used to grind grains. Once you put the grains here, and after continuously rotating the upper cylinder, the flour exits from the sides. This stone mill is now replaced by electric mill. The changes in our cookware from then and now depends on some factors like handling, attractivity, cleaning and nutrition.
These are collection of cookware from the Stone Age to modern age. How did early humans boil water and cook food without any cookware? Using stones and roasting. Let me show you how to boil water using stone and cook meat without any cookware.
Stone boiling is a method in which stones are heated in a fire. Once the stones are hot, they are transferred into vessel containing liquid. This provides humans with clean drinking boiled water. But stone boiling required a large amount of fuel to heat stones and ash easily transferred into food and water.
Evolution of cookware changed the way we cook when humans discovered the earthen pot. Let's see how humans use the earthen pot.
Earthenware kept food ash-free and could place on heat source directly. Earthen pottery was the first step in the evolution of cookware.
The evolution of cookware enters a new age, metalware. This is how the early copper cookware will look like. Copper is excellent conductor of heat, but copper is reactive with acidic food. Cast iron. Cast iron is cheaper version of steel, and copper, due to excellent heat, conducts
humans discovered fire by rubbing stones against each other. They first used for protecting themselves from animals, but then they started using fire for cooking also. They used to cook or roast fish meat into open fire. And this is my open fire cooking. As and when evolution began, we humans have improved on the various cooking techniques. Our ancestors used chula for cooking, and this is chula. It was U-shaped mud stove made up of local clay or mud. It was heated by burning wood, charcoal or animal dung. Earthen pots were used to cook on chula. This enhanced the flavor of food that was cooked, but cooking on chula used to release lot of smoke. Then in 1970s, kerosene wick stove was introduced. And this is my kerosene stove. Kerosene was used to light up such types of stoves. Cooking on kerosene stove was fast compared to chula. Kerosene too has its disadvantages like its unpleasant smell and it is high flame. In 1990s, LPG gas stove was introduced. And this is my gas stove. It came in a form of cylinders and gas stove burns. One needed to use gas lighters to light up and knobs to control the heat of cooking. When using LPG gas stove, proper care had to be taken since due to the careless it may blast. Now in 21st century, with our busy lifestyle, we have evolved for LPG gas to pipeline at our homes. It is safer than LPG gas cylinders. Even people have induction stove, and this is induction. And electric appliances such as microwaves and oven to cook food with runs on electricity.
Here, consider rare and beautiful has ranged from sets, pebbles, and stones and pearls, etc. This is sets of jewelry. This is pearls of jewelry. This is stone of jewelry. This is gemstone. Kusan Emperor is the responsible for introducing gold to India around 100 CE. Filigree is design made from fine gold or silver. Beads in India 5,000 years old.
People knew how to use sand, clay, stone and wood to make small huts as their shelter. Roof of it was covered with dry grass and leaves as shown in my project. Bungalows and multi-story buildings are very common nowadays. One of the greater benefits of building a multi-story home is that the living space is almost double and even triple depending on the number of floors when compared to a single-story home built on the same plot of land. This is a hut and this is made of clay, stone and the roof is covered with dry grass and leaves. This is a bungalow and this is made of cement, bricks, glass and wood. This is a multi-story building. It is made of concrete, bricks, cement and glass and iron rods.
Such as 5 paisa, 10 paisa, 20 paisa, 25 paisa, 50 paisa, 1 rupee, 2 rupee, 5 rupees and 10 rupees.
In early times, music was only performed live. There was no such device to archive. While I take you through the journey of music devices from past till the
century device. The first music ever made was in 1811. The evolution of music devices through the time took us from simple music boxes to today's multi-purpose devices. In 1811, the first music box and music device was automatic, producing sound by placing pins on a disc or a revolving cylinder. In the earliest device that would record sound was the phonograph, invented by Edward Leon Scott in 1857. Here are few more from the early years. Interestingly, in 20th century we have also witnessed several new forms of devices in music players. Here are a few. The later part of 20th century was yet interesting when new designs of MP3 changed the look of comfort of music. Later was the iPod in 2001 to 2007, gave a wide range of upgradation which gave a new approach with wide range of storage to hear thousands of songs in a mini device. It gave access to Apple Store, games and more. Most interestingly, 21st century was shaped a new picture of music. Players with smartphones, play stores, internet giving a chance to select your own music, be it instrumental, vocal or lyrics. These long years brought groundbreaking change to the world